All right, Libra, thanks for tuning in. This is your July 2014 horoscope. My name is Athen, and I'm going to do things a little bit differently this month. I'm going to divide the horoscope into 4 parts. First part I'm going to talk about is yourself this month, then your work, then your relationships, and lastly, spirituality. Okay, and this is all associated with the elements. Yourself is fire, work, earth, air, and water. So let's start with the self. Now, your first house ruler, Venus, is in your 8th house up until the 13th this month. Okay, so in June, last part of June, and for the first half of this month, transformation has really been emphasized. And what I mean by that is releasing all of the old of your life, all the old things in your life, feelings and things and people and situations and all that stuff that aren't serving you. Okay, and creating space, all right, because through this releasing, through clearing the decks, we in fact create space for new things to come into our life. Okay, so this is really emphasized for you and will be for the first half of this month. So continue to do that, and the more courage you can muster up to do those sorts of things, the better. And I think there's a sense of enjoyment with it. I mean, Venus, is your ruler, and she's in that 8th. So enjoying the process as much as you can. And if it takes courage, that's fine, but enjoying it. Enjoying the freedom that it brings, okay? And that sort of thing. Then on the 13th, Venus will go into your 9th house. So at this point, you're really transforming this month, okay? This happens about once a year for you. But it's happening now, and it's about this point in your year or in your life where you're letting go of that old and then coming into a higher state of awareness, okay, which is that 9th house. It's the road to God, it's the rainbow bridge. It's when we come out of the transformation and we become the butterfly and expand our wings, okay? And we have a new spiritual understanding of life, or a larger picture of life. Okay, so this is what's happening, and then so the second half of the month, it's really about continuing to expand yourself. All right, expand your horizons. Once you come out of that transformation, take that deep breath, embody that butterfly, expand your horizons, and expand your mind also, and make that connection with your higher self. Okay, it's really the emphasis for you this month. Now let's talk about your self-expression. Now this is associated with your 5th house. All right, and Saturn rules your 5th, and he's in your 1st. Okay, so you've been creating a new self, new type of self, a new self-expression. Okay, and this has been going on for some time while Saturn's been in your 1st house. So finding new ways to express yourself. All right, and you've been reflecting on this for the past few months while Saturn's been retrograde, and on the 20th this month, he will go direct, okay? So continue to figure out and take that time out from the self-expression for a second. And just, if you're called to, of course, and just kind of reflect on things and organize yourself in such a way that you are a much more vibrant person, okay? Because it's about conserving energy. It's about setting goals, all right? It's about, taking the time, and for you, organizing these bits and pieces of yourself in order to be much more vibrant and healthy and expressive and creative and enjoying your life more. Okay, so continue to do that. And then towards the end of this month, once Saturn goes station and then direct, then I think that'll flow. Okay, if you've been reflecting, a lot of this you've learned over the past couple months, then expressing this new you, after this reflection period, of what you're really about. Okay, and it's taking on a very Saturnian approach. Okay, it's structure, it's discipline, you have something to say, and it's important, and And of course, you have to sometimes bite your tongue and take a step back. But it's all for the best. It's making you into a much more structured and refined human being. Now let's talk about your higher self, which is associated with your ninth. Mercury rules your ninth, and he's going direct this month in your ninth house. Okay, so a lot of this emphasis, like I said, on that cocoon phase. All right, and coming out of the cocoon. But here's the thing: it's almost like your higher self is already, has been, all right, in the flowering phase, in the butterfly phase. All right, and it's been guiding you, and hopefully you've been listening to that since Mercury's been retrograde. Then when Mercury goes direct on the 1st of July, it'll be about expanding even more, expanding that higher guidance into your life, expanding your horizons, expanding your boundaries, and that's going to help you transform too, okay, by doing that. And that's really the emphasis for the majority of the month in regards to your higher self and your higher guidance. There's a lot of information coming down to you, and there was a lot of information last month with Mercury retrograde. You know, Mercury's that messenger of divine messages. And this month, and during, especially around the 1st, I think you might actually come to some insight around this time period, okay, with Mercury in your ninth house station, okay, insight. And so then take that insight and embody it, okay? Embody it this month. It's really what is emphasized here. And listen. Now, on the 28th, Mercury will go into your 10th house, and at this point, things will take on a much more long-term, much more disciplined, service-oriented part. So it's taking this higher guidance that you're receiving this month and then putting it into service, being of service to others, okay? And helping, you know, this guidance transform what you're about, your self-mastery, the bigger picture of your overall life, okay? And use it's like using these bits of guidance into your life in general, okay? But that's going to be emphasized at the very end of this month and in August. Now let's talk about your work this month. Let's start with your resources, your second house, okay? Mars rules your second, he's in your 12th. So I think you've noticed in June, the more you let go and the more you release your values, your resources, and in some cases finances, it's almost like it comes back, okay? And there's this two-way relationship. It's the more you can let go, okay? This is again emphasized of this releasing. The more you can surrender, in this case your resources, the more abundance you're going to notice coming back to you. Okay? And this is especially the case for the first half of the month in regards to your resources. So go with the flow with the resources, okay, and release those attachments. And they're, you know, and in that way you're attracting abundance from the universe, with the universe. Now on the 13th, things are going to start taking on a much more proactive role in regards to the resources. Take what you've learned in regards to this surrendering and how you aren't the only creator of your wealth, that wealth and resources are manifestation of the universe and of Source and of God, okay? And you are a co-creator. So second half, start co-creating and setting some goals, setting some intentions to bring more abundance into your life, okay? And all of this is going to be very motivating for you, all right, in regards to that. Now let's talk about your day-to-day work with your 6th house. Jupiter rules your 6th and he's in your 10th. So a lot of this, you know, what this has to do with is organizing your work, all right? I think you've recently noticed the more you've organized, the more you can bring structure and step up and look at from a bigger perspective your overall, what your skills and your abilities, okay? Refinement, and also your health. But having that big picture look on your work in general is helping you refine yourself, okay, and be much more improved in your work, developing your craft. And it's about organizing, okay, and bringing discipline. It's really about bringing discipline to your work. All right, so continue to do that. I think you're enjoying that. Continue to enjoy that, and it will expand you as well, because we are talking about Jupiter. Now let's talk about your service and your contribution, what you have to give back to society, okay? Your career, you might call it, if you want to associate with that, but it doesn't necessarily mean what you get back from society. It's just what you contribute, okay? So Could mean career, could mean anything that you give to the public. So in regards to this, the moon rules your 10th, okay, and the moon, we're going to have a full moon on the 12th this month, and it's happening in your 3rd house, okay? So the emphasis, the first half, is to really share. Be open to giving and receiving, okay, and through that, it's going to help develop your career and your contribution. Open up, and I think you're going to become aware of this, and the more you can open up and share and be open to receiving, exchanging, teaching, communicating, two-way process, the more it's going to develop your career, the more it's going to help your contribution. All right? So be aware of that around the 12th, and there should be some insight in regards to that too. Perhaps a new way you exchange in your work or communicate in your work. Okay? So listen to those insights too. It's the full moon. There is insights. Now on the 26th, we're going to have a new moon in the 10th. So I think if you do that, if you really take the time to focus on sharing, I think then on the 26th there will be something new coming from that, okay? Could mean new, some new opportunities in your work. It could mean some new people coming into your work, some more opportunities for you to share what you're about, to contribute, whatever it is. Pay attention around the 26th to what new is coming to you in your career area. All right? And the more discipline, like I said, and structure and organization you can bring to it, particularly around the 26th, the better in regards to that. All right, now let's talk about your relationships. Let's start with the 3rd house, which has to do with communication. Okay? Jupiter rules your 3rd, and he's in your 10th. So again, bringing discipline to your communication is really emphasized for you. Okay? It's going to be emphasized for about a year while Jupiter's transiting that 10th house of yours. Okay, so take a disciplined approach to how you communicate. All right, and that's going to develop all areas of your life, and it's going to help develop your relationships and bring new relationships. Think about what you're saying. Think about how speak from the overall perspective. Okay, with the big picture in mind and the long-term plan in mind too of the overall relationships or whatever. So take that big picture approach and that discipline in your communication. Now let's talk about relationships in general. Mars rules your 7th, and he's in your 12th. All right, so surrendering, okay, much like we talked about in regards to your resources, let go of relationships. And those relationships, it gives space, okay? Just give space, give yourself space, take some time out, all right? Allow that presence and connect to your heart, all right? And right now, there's this, Mars is helping you become more compassionate in your relationships, okay? So tap into that first half of the month, all right? Then on the 13th, Mars will go into your 1st, and this is when relationships will take a much more proactive, all right, more hands-on active phase, okay? About initiating and taking action, all right? So if you take the time in the first half to really connect to your higher self, to your spirituality, and surrender, I think there will be a new beginning in regards to your relationships in general, okay? And from the 13th onward, then it's just about really just expressing yourself, like I mentioned before, and just taking initiative in relationships, being a leader, okay? Help lead, because we're all leaders in relationships. And in this case, you will really be learning how to, how we depend on each other and how people depend on you and what you can do to help your relationships out. Okay? So that's the second half. Now let's talk about groups in general. So your friends and any group activities, we're talking about your 11th house. Sun rules your 11th, he's in your 9th, okay? So in June and up for the first half of this month, it's been about expanding your group sphere, broadening your horizons, okay? So like I mentioned before, really expanding has been helping you receive guidance, but it's also been helping you, helping the group area and helping you meet more people perhaps, or be more of service, or to contribute, because the 11th house is also what we have to contribute in regards to, not for career or for contribution, but just giving to our community, all right? And being of service that way. So expand your groups, expand your circles, okay? And I think there will be a lot of motivation and awareness if you do that, and I think it'll overall benefit your relationships as well. That's for the first half. Second half, when the sun goes into your 10th house and into first half of August, it'll be, again, structuring and organizing more in regards to the group type stuff. Okay? So take the first half to just enjoy and expand. All right? Then the second half, it'll take a little bit more of a serious approach to your groups. Organize, structure things, maybe start a new group, join a group, take it seriously. Not just physical, it's also online, okay, through social media and such. All right? But in general, it's about expanding your sphere and bringing more discipline to it. Okay? That disciplined approach that we talked about with your feelings and the rest of it. Okay, so actually, I'm sorry, that was another sign about the feelings. But bring more organization to the group atmosphere. Okay? Second half. Now let's talk about your spirituality. Let's start with the fourth house. The fourth house has to do with your inner self. Okay? All spirituality comes through feeling, comes through your inner temple. All right? That's the fourth house. Now Saturn rules your fourth and he's in your first. Okay? And he's been retrograde. So there's been a lot of this initiating your inner self, okay? Taking action with your inner self, transforming the inner temple into action. But for the past couple months, it's been perhaps reflective. Things have been slow, or you've been taking a step back while Saturn's been retrograde. All right, so continue to do that. Continue to reflect on how you can really embody your inner self into what you do. Okay? And again, it's very organized the way you do this. Then on the 20th, when Saturn goes direct, so the second half, the last week in particular, and into August, all right, really starting to put yourself out there, put your inner self out there, put your spiritual self out there. Okay? All of this is going to help develop your spirituality. Okay? And attract relationships and improve your work and yourself and all the other areas of your life. Now let's talk about your transformation. Okay, we did already talk about that, so it's a very transformative month for you. Now we're going to talk about your 8th house. It's ruled by Venus, and she's in your 8th. 8th, with the 8th, again, especially the first half of this month, release, 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 let go of everything that's not serving you. Pay attention to the patterns that you might be repeating, and let them go. You know, it's like when we get so used to repeating a pattern, it just takes sometimes one time to just not do the same thing that you always do to break the pattern, and having conviction with it, right? And just allowing it to go. It's about that sort of stuff. And again, that's going to contribute to your overall transformation mid-month, which I think all of you Libras will be transforming in one degree or another. Now, the releasing will, again, like I said, create this butterfly effect, this transformation, second half of the month. And for you, it's really about expanding the non-attachment. Okay, so it's about learning all of this releasing that you've done, and then embodying it in your higher self, and perhaps sharing it with others, and it's just overall feeling much more expansive. So let go of even the attachments to your expansion of the butterfly. Let go of the attachment of being the butterfly, so to speak. Okay, that's the type of energy here. The more you do that, so there's this caution, especially with Venus. There's this caution that, you know, it's about not becoming attached to the process either. Don't become attached to the process, and don't be attached to the outcome. All right, release all of it. And then through that, you're really going to find some true transformation, I think. All right, now let's talk about your 12th. Mercury rules your 12th, and he's going direct in your 9th. Again. So you're expanding your spirituality this month, to say the least. Okay, you're expanding your spiritual self. All right, and you've been reflecting on it, like I said, last month in June, and this month it's really about coming into it. All right. Expand those horizons all month, all right? And then slowly, I think the other parts will then, other parts of you, the deeper parts of you perhaps, will start to expand as well. Then at the tail end of this month and into August, your spirituality will take on a much more structured approach. Okay, so for the last few months, a few days of this month, excuse me, you might notice a much more organized, systematic approach to your spirituality, which is of course very important because, and like I mentioned earlier, it's not without that discipline do you have that true spiritual essence. Okay. All right, Libra, so thanks for tuning in. If you'd like a personal in-depth reading, I'm now offering readings for $45. If you're interested, please click the link down below. And if you have any questions, please get in touch. All right, Libra, thanks for watching. Have a good month.